Hello, welcome to another patch from scratch followed by a performance. My name's Gary and this is a sort of weekly thing I'm doing. This one probably won't be ambient. I'm going to just take it where I feel like, and that could be anywhere. I suppose that's the beauty of Modular. You're never quite sure where it's going to go, and you know, that's part of the reason we do it, I suppose, that serendipitous surprise in terms of where the music's going. Not a lot's changed with the rack, apart from I've taken surface out temporarily and put back this the A116 miniature synth. I just wanted something more analog, and I kind of got a plug here to do any sort of, you know, modelling, real string modelling things. Also got another filter, this 2 HP MMF. They're now doubled up, so I've actually got a row of 2 filters there. Kind of thinking vertically as well. It's always a bit of a jigsaw puzzle doing Modular. I've got all my main modulation sources from the Oct and the expander in a line as well. I suppose that's the only thing majorly vertical, although I've got 2 sort of circular sequences here on the left which are vertical as well. Anyway, that's not what we're here about. I quite like the miniature synth because I can get those slightly old-fashioned sounds, and particularly with the polycinematic you can really go sort of synth wavy if you wanted to, a bit old school. I thought I'd start with the miniature synth using the CV from the Q Nexus here, so CV Volt Proactive and CV Gate, and then we'll have a what I'm actually thinking of here from single voice is something a bit nice solo Vangelis-y type thing. I think we've got a bit of a track playing. Let's just delete that. Good, I hope this stays on. So I've already got a bit of delay and reverb on. In fact, I always do this late. I'm going to do a BPM sync onto the delay. So what I want to do with this sound is obviously have it a bit more sustained, slow attack, very old traditional analog synth stuff this. So a bit Vangelis-y, which is kind of what I'm after. I want something sort of soft, and then I want to take it all the way into that domain. Just use the right leads. What should I do? I'll take a let's do that one. Take a bipolar into the pitch. So I've got a attenuator built in on this synth here on the pitch modulation. That's an attenuator to allow me to control the amount of pitch modulation. Don't want it too resonant. So let's just chuck a quick drone in as a reference point to that. I'll use the pony, and I'll modulate that with, I think, a unipolar. Let's do get from there. I know, a bit of a randomy one, I think, just so it's not too. I'll do for now. So if you notice, I can, if I want the attack, I've got to release it so it finishes its envelope cycle. I can also hold a note, and then because the envelope's open, so this would be, excuse me, actually good on aftertouch, which this keyboard has, but just for the moment, keep it simple. I was annoyed when the leads getting in the way of the keyboard. Stay there. Right. Right, MIDI. So this, as well as CV, this keyboard does MIDI, and I've got 3 tracks available. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to plug into the disting, and I'm already thinking I want to get quite polyphonic, so I'm going to do a MIDI through from the disting, which has got some string samples. Can't hear them because I've not done the audio yet. And then through there onto the polycinematic. So let's just hook those 2 up. So the disting I'll do, in fact I'm going to do the disting through the loop, stereo loop here, which you may have seen me do before. So I've got a left and right side looper, 2 HP, one of the maxes left, one right. So I can just go from the disting, which is one of the reasons it's right next to it, because I do this quite a lot. And this just allows me to do quite a nice orchestral bed type sound. Well, not even a bed, you know, it can be a main feature. Just check the gain on the disting. I think I turned it down for some reason, don't know why. Yeah, it's really low. So one of the nice things having a drone is that you can use it as a bit of an audio level reference. So I'm going to clock the looper so that the left and right start at the same time, and again I've done this before, so that I can use a trigger in to start the loop, and I've already got, which is my designated PAMS Pro slow looper trigger on 6, which is every 64 beats it's going to start the loop, or probably a better way of explaining it is that the loop length is going to be 8 bars equivalent, because once I've done the first one, it's sort of locked into there, and it will start each loop perfectly in time on each side of the stereo. So that's the whole point of that. Also on the MIDI, I've got the polycinematic setup, which allows me, let's go into the mixer here because it's temperamental levels sometimes. What have we got there? So that's playing on track 3, track 3 at the moment. What's that from? Interesting. Let's just delete that. Quite sure what that is. That's cool. Might remember that. Right. But I can also, of course, because it's polyphonic, play full chords. A bit low at the moment. And you can hear it bouncing around in stereo. So that's going to be a mixture of chords and possibly that thing, if I can remember it. Is that a 5-step sequence? Just check. Yeah, 5 steps. I'm going to leave that because that's cool. Back to track 1. Bit more frequency modulation. I think I'm going to attenuate that even more because it's bipolar. It's going quite extreme from one side to the other. So I'm going to put it through another attenuator. So this is going to be a double attenuated pitch thing. So I'm going to go from, let's see if I can get a small lead for this. Go from that speed through. I actually use these VCAs now as attenuators sometimes. So the VCA one, there's 4 in a row here because the 2 of them. I can then use this to dampen or reduce the amount going into. So I can turn this up and then use this to reduce the amount of range of the modulation, if that makes sense. So that's, you know, taking it from a whatever it is, +5, -5 volts into something like ±1 or something. That way we can get a bit more of a pleasing sort of sound on that solo-y line. Okay, these are officially getting on my nerves now. I'm going to wrap them around there. Need some tape or something. Tape is tight. Right. So we got that. I can switch to and then switch to that. These are all on MIDI, of course. I'm sorry. First one's on CV. There was a MIDI. Just remembering that line. Right, other things to lock in. I suppose I could, just for the hell of it, start a bit of the strings. Let's just play it one round through, just so we've got something interesting to listen to. So I'm just going to wait for this to set that going and then play some strings on from the distinct string sample. This is one of my favourite little string samples. So as soon as I see the red lights go on, I know that's the start of the first loop. It's always worth kind of doing that anyway. I'm just going to do usual sort of effervescent C minor thing. Actually, I'm monitoring on headphones at the moment, just so that my voice is not fighting with, you know, natural sounds or the speakers. When I do the performance, I'm actually going to turn up the monitoring so I can hear it on the speakers, which would be make more sense. So come on, are you going to set off or what? This is on 130 BPM at the moment, and obviously we're going to have some drums probably later. It's plugged in. I think I must have started it right at the end of the cycle. So not very exciting. I'm actually thinking of what to play as soon as it comes in. I don't know if you can see the red lights, or not red lights in this case. Oh, one thing, in fact, let me just take that. I just realised if this was on a probability, oh, it's on the wrong shape and everything, so what a nightmare. So let's have that. I'll just check the probability, so that would have been could have been here all day. Probabilistically speaking, so probability 100%. So now it's definitely going to trigger. So I'll just get it at the right part of the cycle, I hope. So it's on 100%. So let's just 8 bars is not that much. There we go. So now we've got that was recorded. Now I'll just wait for it to put into record and then make sure a little later on when I'm overdubbing, I've got control of the output levels here. So as soon as the next record triggers, I'm actually just going to leave it into loop mode and then I'll know it's in time. So if for later on, there we go. Bit of a jump, but we'll leave that in looping now. I can turn it down, of course, with the gain either on the loopers or on the or on the disting. Whoops, no, they have to be on the loopers because oh sorry, that's the I'm doing the wrong ones here, idiot. So that's the actual output of the loop there, so I can control that. A little later on, that join, I can actually put a bridging note over it, which I might do now because I'm actually connected here. So I can do some, let's do some low sustain notes. This is a sort of band-aid to cover up the loopy jump. I think that's covered up. Right, we'll just leave that playing. Turn the mix down. What else do we need? So we need some rhythmic things. So I'm going to clock both the Moskwa, one clock into Moskwa, and a 2 times clock into Cosmos Quenser. Really just because I can use these expander outputs. So for the Cosmos Quenser, I think I'm going to send that to the so the CV to the new Godspeed. I'm thinking of a baseline-y type thing, so you can see that's playing now. I'm going to put it through a low-pass gate because this doesn't have a VCA on it or anything, so I'm just going to use the output of that audio output into the low-pass gate. Output of the low-pass gate, I don't know if this is long enough, it's a bit tight. Use that one. Into this channel, and then I just need to trigger the low-pass gate, so I'll use the Cosmos Quenser output, which probably needs a longish lead. That's about right. Oh, there we go. So I'll just probably getting bored of that loop and drone at the moment. So what have we got here? We've got the new Godspeed. So we've got a BPM delay here, so you can hear it's working quite well for this sort of thing. I can control the type of gate. I've got 3 switches here on the low pass gate, so a longish clicky one, one that's dependent on the gate length itself, and then one which is very short. I tend to do it on the top one. So this Cosmos Quenser, I can adjust the length here. I'll do something like a how long is that? Oh, it's 1, 2, 3, 7 steps. Let's do 8 steps, so it works pretty well. The major adjustments are the register, so whether it's a bass sound, bass frequencies, or something a bit higher. And then we've got the range itself, which is how many notes the Cosmos Quenser puts in. If I put it in the middle there, I don't know if you can see all this, but I've got a whole tutorial on this. If I put it in the middle, the range, it's just going to play the one note. If I extend the range, it's going to start to choose more notes based on the scale. At the moment the scale is 1, 4, 5, and also on the pattern, so there's quite a few things that you tweak to get the thing. If I do the range low, just turn those strings down a bit. Very nice, but so there we go, get a bit more variation there. I can adjust the fill, so how many notes play within the 8 steps I've chosen. I can also adjust the phase of when it starts using the rotation. And then on the new Godspeed, I've got control over the folding on this particular sound, which is like a sine wave. And then if I'm introducing a bass, the sub-octave as well. So that's kind of cool. Let's try that with a bit of a Euclidean bass drum. So I'm using the Ornament and Crime Euclid 3, I think it is, Euclid X, sorry. What do I need? Oh yeah, and it does take the audio output. I'll put this into the non-delayed mixer, and we'll have, I'm just using short leads if I need to. So what we'll do is a 4 times clock on clock 4 from Pam's into the Euclidean. So let's get rid of the, I'll leave the loop going, let's get rid of the strings altogether. The delay's not helping with this sort of thing. Let's find something a bit more. Sometimes you're doing a performance, you've got to think about what's going to be the overall reverb for you. So there's this big ambient one. I've also got on the FXAidXL here, I'm just clicking through them, one that's a true stereo in, stereo out, which might work. Actually getting a bit of compression, it seems like. So let's turn the drone off. So this is just the Euclidean kick, which at the moment hasn't got much Euclideanness going on. So I'm actually going to take one of my favourite little aspects of the Octet Expander now, this little randomy trigger thing, to trigger the Euclidean variation in the CV ins at the Ornament and Crime here. So if I do, let's do that one. See what happens, not a lot. Oh yeah, there's some change there. So I might do a slow one because I don't want it changing too much. So I think the slowest one is going to have to do, and I might slow the whole oct down. Okay, that's useful just to have that on tap. So if you got a you're thinking of doing a breakdown or something, that's a bit of a fold on the bit more of a see if it'll work with a better bass drum kick. Sometimes hard to gauge bass levels in headphones. So that's kind of cool. Let's likewise take the other, there's 2 Euclideans there, let's put that into the drum 2, Erica. So I've got drums here, which is 2 channels of sample drums, could be anything. Drum 2 is a sort of single channel, but it's got a lot more sort of control. So let's take the second trigger, output that into another side of this mixer, stereo. Okay, let's choose a sound. I tend to go with this blue coloured one, which is a sort of snarey hi-hat thing. And I've noticed with that, it's really nice just to put in a slow modulation into CV1, which is the decay, which gives, sometimes, that's probably too slow. So I might actually, oh yeah, we got this weird Euclidean thing going on that one. Let's just take that to standard. So there's the opening up. Let's try the CV on that one. And that's making more sense. So it's giving a lot more variation. Leave the kick pretty constant and have this dancing around a bit more. I can control this parameter just for a bit of fun. Let's see what happens. We'll use another Another bipolar into the second CV. Let's change the model. Finding something that will work. That's probably okay. It's got a bit of a blocky sound as well. So we're actually changing the K with modulation and I think parameter 1. Yeah. So that would actually work slower on the parameter 1. So let's take a slightly slower modulation on parameter 1. So we've got kind of a fast decay and then a slowish. Okay, that'll do. So I've got I can have it quite constant without putting this trigger modulation in. Send the drone back. Right, some other elements. So that's a bit of rhythm. We've got control over the sound of the new Godspeed, and as you know, I can, with the audio down, switch to a different part of the different oscillator, the odd even one, if I want to get kind of a bit gritty. In that case, getting a modulation ready for that one is the order of the day, so let's just go unipolar into the index. And as I said, I can just click to slightly longer. And I can change the octave as well if I want to get super bassy. So obviously this is just auditioning all the variations, and it's part of the process of, I suppose I could call this another flow or setting up for a live performance. It's about getting everything, all the palette ready. So the other thing I kind of want with this is, because I've got quite a lot of, I suppose middly range type things in terms of frequency spectrum, although I can change them all the time. I might do, I mentioned the pluck modeling thing, so I'm going to do a, let's go CV out of the Mosca into the pluck, little octave in, trigger from the gate, and then we'll just take the audio into the other end of, sorry, the other end, audio in 4 on the delayed mixer. So that's good. We got, these two are coming from these two sequences. And I put the pluck in the open here just so I can really get control over the dampening. So I can have it fully damp and go quite clicky, much the same as I can get super clicky with, for example, the new Godspeed as well. Put them on each side of the stereo. So a bit more folding on it, perhaps a bit higher. Just change the gate length on Cosmos Quenser. There, that's a bit easier to work with. So it's a very short gate coming out of there now, triggering the low pass gate. So that's kind of nice as a rhythmic section. Obviously kick in the middle. Might try a kick with a bit of a hi-hat. And then I can bring in it's actually quite loud, the drum too, so I'm going to use a quick attenuation cable. I could put it through one of the VCAs just to attenuate it, but this is an easier way of doing it. I'll just put that up to sort of where I expect the audio levels to be, and then adjust the attenuation just so it's at the right level. That way it generates a very long lead, and that way I can, bring more or less in with the audio control. That would could work better with the with a bit of delay on it. What else have we got? Let's take the drone. The drone doesn't really need a delay. I've kind of limited to 4 channels into the delayed mixer, but that snarey sound could work better in there. So we've got a bit more rhythm, and I'll put the drone in a pretty basic thing up there. And sometimes when you change like this, your muscle memory, which has kicked in already, gets a bit confused. So I now need to remember that that sort of rhythmic drum thing, which is going through the delay, which I can get quite extreme with by increasing the feedback, for example. The other thing on the drum too, expecting it to get a little more of that sort of sound I wanted. So I'm just changing the parameter up here so that I think we just need a slightly faster modulation. So I'm using 3 of the bipolar aux here. That's kind of cool. Let's get so a lot of this fine tuning I normally wouldn't do on video, but it's useful to see the process, because now we're getting quite a nice effect off that on this feedback. Without the delay, it's still doing some quite interesting things, the drum too, with 2 modulation sources going in. Not sure what parameter 2 is, I think it's more of a resonance. That's just gives it a bit more high frequency, I think. Anyway, so what have we're almost there. That's the, speaking of clippy sounds, that's the pluck. So the pluck is a melodic sequence in this case. I don't know if that's in tune. Let's bring the strings in. Kind of nice. And then track 2, I can play over the top of those strings. Remember, it's in a loop at the moment, so you have to be careful. I can't. It'd be nice to be able to clear the loop without losing the start and end points. Anyway, wondering what I could do is I could actually, let's put the loop back in just so that I've got control. Sorry, the loop start and stop. Just so I've got control over the what I play into it, because I can use this. Just keep an eye on the lights and then know, okay, it's now an option to add another layer. Anyway, what am I doing with the pluck? So the pluck's coming from here. I can randomise that a bit. It's just on a 4-step sequence at the moment. 5-step sequence. Might just use that as an entry point for it, probably along with the Cosmos Quenser. With this one, I can adjust the length and get a constant pulse going if I wanted. Something like that. That's the low pass gate. And then we've got polycinematic. So I think I've almost got all the elements. that's on a G because the scale I've set is CFG. I don't know if you can see it there, but now it's just on a single C, which means just tune. The pluck's notorious for going out of tune. I know the new Godspeed's in tune. So let's just tweak the pluck. That should be okay. Nothing worse than you're all set up to introduce a sound and then it's totally out of tune. So let's use the strings and the drone perhaps. Where's the drone now? I forgot already. It's in number 2, is it? Yeah. The thing with the pluck as well, when you increase or decrease the dampening effect, it has a tendency to go slightly out of tune. So that sounds in tune, but when you dampen it, it tends to tighten it up a bit. I think that's fine. Bit of strings, bit of the polycinematic. And then let's go back to our mini synth, the thing we started with. Interesting tuning. So I'll take off the pitch modulation. Just make sure we've got it will sound the mini synth will sound a bit out of tune as soon as I introduce this pitch modulation. So it's a psychological thing for sure. Just check it's receiving a bipolar, which it is. So it's going up and down, and I pitched it in the middle, so it should be, you know, moving. If that's the note, it's moving left and right a bit. Just always sounds weird by itself. As soon as you add it with some background and the right effects and things, so you can hear what's going through my head probably. So we can start with a very orchestral opening, and then start to introduce some of those rhythmic elements. So for the new Godspeed coming from the Cosmos Quenser, just by increasing the length, I don't know if you can see that, we'll start to introduce some extra notes. Someone asked me the other day, it's all random. Well, of course not. It's controlled by you in terms of every aspect of what it plays. So if I wanted more notes, super easy. If I wanted the scale to have more notes, then let's have the 4th and the 5th. Let's make the whole thing a bit higher, increasing the range. More bassy. Quite like those clicks. That's really the low pass gate. Just where the audio hits the I forgot the name of the Vectral or something. The little property in here, which basically when it gets a low enough, the low frequencies, threshold enough, it will trigger and open the gate, and you get that sort of clickiness, but it's actually quite attractive sometimes. So particularly on that setting, I tend to use it on this setting more than the others. That's the short one, and then the one that dependent on the gate, just you tend to get the clicks because the gate's just on and off. And then that one's more of a ramp type, so it gets rid of some of the click. Right, so if I want to go back on this one just to single notes, I just change the length there, and I can also reduce the register. That one's kind of set. Pluck from here, and then we've got that lovely rhythmic thing. Then we've got strings going into here, so they're controlled from the looper. I may add to those later. Not sure what I just did there. Just check everything's working, and then a solo-y line. A super long attack I want. I'll try and avoid doing that. So it probably needs to be a bit faster, that vibrato. I know I'm fiddling, but let's try a faster one. So it's not even vibrato really, it's sort of extreme pitch modulation. So that's that. Just check the... And I forgot my little tune I had going, is it? Something like that. I think it was higher up. I might introduce that, you know, as soon as I get something rhythmic going, because this is clocked from PAMs, of course. Let's check we're still running. Then as soon as I get something rhythmic like that, I should be able to put this into record. This is the theory. Let's just test it and do that run here. So it's slightly out, so one thing I don't want to do is restart the clock. Oh, I'm going to have to, I think. Yeah, I'm going to have to delete the string sound, annoyingly, just so I can make sure those are in sync. I quite like that tune. Can start it really low. I'm thinking of its entry sound. Let's just delete that. So let's see if we can do that again. Get it in sync. Record. That's better. And once that's recorded, I can switch off record and actually play, still using the poly cinematic because it's a polyphonic module. I can play other chords. And not record them, just sort of just add a bit of interest. To the proceedings, so there could be even a breakdown section where I just do like a really big and then bring things in. Let's delete that polycinematic. Very nice, got the drone still sitting there doing its thing. Right, I think we're ready to go for recording, so I'm actually going to get rid of my headphones, check it's all still running, so you know this is one continuous take. I'm only recording this at 1080p, so it's not the best quality, so hopefully you saw everything that happened there. I may obviously add more modulation sources. I haven't really done any filtering. I wanted to do some of that as well. Might do that in a breakdown section. So I'm going to leave it running just to show you that this is sort of part of the process. I'm kind of doing this in my bit of a lunch break. I've got a workshop I'm running this evening until 2 AM, 3 AM, astrophotography. But this is more about, you know, just sitting down, having a rough idea of where you want to go, and then just creating something like a performance, which is what it's all about. So let's go to speaker power. I'm going to leave the mics running. Just take my headphones off, put them over here, and then bring up the speakers. Just to check that they're there. Oops, track one. So probably for this opening, now you can hear it coming out of the speakers, I might have something just a bigger reverb. And then drop it back, drop the reverb back when I get into more rhythmic things. So let's see how we do. You know, I kind of do these partly so that, so I'm just seeing if I can wrap these wires. There we go, that's tight. I partly do these so that if I do get a good performance of some kind, to actually then, you know, master it properly and create a Bandcamp album. You've seen me do that, which is a great way of doing it. Thinking about structure, thinking about, you know, introducing elements slowly over time, then perhaps having something where it deteriorates, you know, just turns into chaos, and then a bit of an outro, soft again, melodic, and a combination of melodic and rhythmic. You know, trying to tell a story, I suppose. That's kind of what it's all about. If there isn't a story there, then it's just noises. I'm not critical of other people's, but I do see, you know, people just have one idea and they'll plonk it there for 4 minutes and then that's the video over. I like to do long form things for obvious reasons, just because it stretches my imagination. So let's go. I'm thinking what to start with. I might do, you know, a drone just so that there's something going on there. Then a bit of a Vangelis-y, solo-y thing, just coming out of, you know, like Dawn of Man, that sort of thing. Then add in the strings, or do that sort of sequence, or do that and then lead into the sequence, do the polycinematic and then lead into some strings, and then gradually introduce the other elements, particularly the rhythmic ones. So let's see how we do. So I'll wave my hands just for my benefit that we're kicking off.